I'm back on the UVW1400. This is the one I picked up there last week, and we took a look at it last week to see if it was working and found that the front display panel is dead, as is the audio meters are dead. So I said I was going to look at it again. We're going to put this one up on the bench again today and see whether I can get to the bottom of the failure for the front panel display. Let's check it out. So we're back on the beta deck, the Betacam SP deck, not to be confused with home beta. This is the professional format, and on this one, the meter is dead, as is the display. So I'd like to see if I could get that working. I know that they require a high voltage for the vacuum display. What I don't know is whether the high voltage is generated on board or whether it's coming from the power supply. I think it probably is generated on board, so we're going to concentrate on the display itself, because a lot of these have a little switching power supply on the actual board itself, and there could be some bad caps that's causing the oscillator not to work. So I'm going to pull the side panels off. I got to get this front panel off here. I've never opened one of these before, so I got to take my time and visualize what I got to take apart again, because I've never been into one of these machines yet. So the top comes off. There's just two screws that hold the top down, as these machines are designed to be serviced and they're designed to be maintained in the field. Most tape operators are also trained with cleaning heads. At least when I worked in the TV station, the machine I got fired over was a Panasonic, and I cleaned the heads, or I actually took a damn tape out. I was trained to clean the heads, but I took a tape out and they fired me for that. But we used to just keep the machines sitting in the rack, and we could just slide them forward. They were on rack mount, we could slide them out and then just lift the top off so we could access the head drum to clean the heads. And it's got instructions on here how to remove a tape that's slack, you see? It says, set the character switch to on, press the menu holding the button down, select service support with the buttons, and then press that button. Select manual eject, press that button, yes, to remove the cassette following it. So it tells you how to actually get the tape out if it gets eaten. Interesting. I just happened to look on the inside of the cover. There's some instructions there for the operator. I want to remove the side panels now so that I can see how the front panel opens up, because that's where I think I need to go. So let's zip out the screws on the side, get the side panel off. Of the screws on the two side panels come off to reveal that there's a couple of screws that hold the front panel on. I wonder if there's any on the bottom. These machines are safe to turn on their side. There's a couple of screws. There's three on the bottom and on the sides here. So there's three down the bottom and one on each side. We'll get those screws out, and hopefully the front panel will pop off, and I can then access the board that I need to get to. I think that's the board I got to get to. Will this pop off yet? The knobs probably all have to come off as well. Remove the knobs. The key is this has to be closed or it won't open. When that's closed, it just slips right off. But if that is open, it won't open up. So if you're taking one of these apart, make sure you've got the control panel door closed, because it catches on the bottom when it swings up. Okay, here's the display. There's two displays here. There's two boards. And two tubes, and the tubes themselves are not damaged in any way. It doesn't look like anyway. I see some ugly surface mounted caps on this board here. You know how much trust I have in surface mounted caps. There's a couple of them here. I wonder if there's more of them on this other board here. I'm just going to pop this board out and see if there's any other of our favorite culprits on the back of this board. I wonder if this display board will just lift out. It should just lift right out. Okay. Yeah, okay, I think this is where our fault is probably going to be, is right on this board here. If we look down here, we're going to see a little inductor down here, and I bet you this is where the power supply is, probably for both of them, because this other board is plugged into this. So I have a sneaking suspicion that this is the power supply that supplies power for both of the vacuum displays. We will see what is on this board, but I'm guessing there's probably going to be some more surface mounted caps on the display board, and I am correct. There are surface mounted caps on here, and there's a good chance that this is why we have no display. You see, this one has a little transformer on here that's going to step up the voltage to the correct voltage for the indicator tube. And I bet if I were to check these caps, they are 47 microfarads at 35 volts. I bet you if I do an ESR test on them, they're going to fail. And we'll just see how bad these surface mounted caps are. Any questions? That one's open. That one's open. That one's open. That one's open. As is that one. We have 5 47 microfarad 35 volt caps. I'm going to switch them all out on here and see if there's anything else that's damaged. That transistor there looks like it might be, or is that a diode? That might be a diode. ZD4, ZD3. That looks like that might be a bit cooked. So that's a Zener diode, looks to be, but that looks to be that it may have gone Nova. We'll just check that with the meter, and it may have to come out. It was probably there as a crowbar in case the voltage went too high, and when the caps failed, the voltage crept up and popped the Zener, shut everything down. Hopefully it didn't do any other damage to anything else on here, but we'll find out. We'll just see whether this tests as a short or not. Is it shorted? Doesn't appear to be. Okay. Well, it looks like it got hot, that's for sure. That looks like it got warm. But we'll change these caps out for starters and see whether that restores the display. It's not the end of the world if the display doesn't work, but it really would be nice to have the audio display and the time code and everything up on the display here. Again, it's not critical, but it's just a nice thing to have a machine that is properly working. I'm going to clip the old ones out. Then lift off the bases, what remains, while not ripping the traces off the board while I do this. So we're just carefully removing the old remaining the rubber seal and the rest of the top. That one was actually kind of leaking. The other ones were all dry. That one actually still had a bit of electrolytic left in it. How about this one? This one probably did too. Yeah, it was still pretty dry. I don't see any real moisture on the board. I guess I'll find out once I remove the pins. what's remaining here. We'll break the little plastic base if we can. There we go. Or yeah, break that to take that out of the way. Again, I don't want to put any undue stress on the board itself, because the board itself could be damaged from leakage of electrolytic. As you can see, it has leaked. Or was that glued down? Looks like it's leaked. There we go. Okay, now I can remove what remains of the original lead and re-tin the board and mount some new conventional caps. Let's get some fresh solder in there. Looks like they glued these in place when they were when they put them in. That's what that black stuff looks like. That looks like glue that was used to hold the base down when it went through the reflow machine. Gotta make sure that the pads have got some good tin on here. Alright, I'll prep the replacement parts. They all go in the same orientation, negative towards the bottom of the screen. So I'm just going to go cut all these leads off. I'm putting in 50 volt rated caps because that's the closest that I have. As long as you go to a voltage that's higher and not lower. The original are rated at 35. They're probably running them pretty close to that. They're probably running them in the 30 to 35 range, and that's why they failed. But as long as we are in the same voltage, at least a little bit higher than the original, then there's not going to be an issue. I'm just going to go bend my leads here at right angles so that I can put these parts back in. I don't have to worry so much about clearance because I think the shield cover it goes on has got a fair bit of clearance. And with any luck, once I put these parts in and plug it back in, I will get display lights on the alphanumeric and audio meter. Again, not the end of the world if it doesn't work. It's just one of those things that if I can get it fully functional, it just increases its value and makes it look cooler. Got my camera monitor going here beside me on my plasma, watching to see when it's going to start snowing, because they're saying it's going to start snowing this afternoon, and it's going to snow all night, and we're going to have a record snowfall, 20 centimeters. That's what they're calling for. Not where I am. I don't think I'll see more than about 2 or 3, but if that. But they're calling for a big dump of snow, which is very unusual for these parts. And where I am, being close to the water, I probably won't see any at all. But they're calling for it, so we're going to be watching for it. I got my monitor going here, just so I can see when it starts. They say it's supposed to start, well, it should be starting in the next couple of hours. They're saying around dinner time. It's around 4:43 right now, so they say it could start any time in the afternoon as the temperature starts to drop. It was above freezing today, a bit, like a degree. It was like 1 degree Celsius. So they say the temperature is going to drop a bit, and it's going to snow, and then it's going to turn to freezing rain, and then it's going to turn back to snow, and it's going to melt, because the temperatures by Thursday, it's going to be up. They say it's going to be like +8. So yeah, it won't be sticking around, and that'll probably be the only snow we get all year. Hopefully. I don't particularly like the snow. I don't like driving in it. I don't like working in it. It belongs on the mountains where people that want to ski can go skiing, but everywhere else you can do without it. Alright, so that's done. I can probably plug this in. Okay, I've got the display plugged back in. I don't have it turned on yet. Let's turn on the power and see if anything lights up. And I don't see anything lighting up. So I can hear it clicking, so I know the unit's got power, but this still doesn't have any juice. So it's more than just those capacitors. This Zener diode that's down here, I'm kind of wondering whether that's shorted and that's killing everything. There's also a transistor on board here as well. This would have been part of the power supply. I wonder if that's been popped. Well, let's just measure and see. This Zener might be killing everything. But oh, there's a fuse on here. I wonder if the fuse is open. Is that a fuse? That looks like a fuse. My LED just scared you, didn't it, when it blinked there? I think that's a fuse. FU light. FU1. I think that's probably a fuse. How about this Zener diode? Is it dead? 1.7. I don't think it's dead. But this fuse, I'm sure that's a fuse. FU1. I'm sure that's a fuse. So, we can try checking to see what there's voltage on either side of it. That would work. I've got the power turned off here. I'll just put my voltmeter onto the chassis here, the ground somewhere. And we'll plug in the power. I bet you that's B+, and it popped more than likely. Okay, power on. What do we have here? We have 12 volts, and on this side we got 0 volts. Yeah, that might be a problem. So I don't know what size this fuse is. I wonder if it says. Let's see, gonna try to get a close-up of it here and take a close look at it. I'm going to remove the fuse. I still can't see what value it is, but there it is. So, are we able to get a close-up of that part? I rubbed it. I think the number came off. Maybe you just put a tiny little bridge wire there so that if it draws too much current, it'll just pop it. That might be the easiest. Got to find a very fine wire. If you're looking for a source of very fine wires, look no further than your good old solder wick. Just separate it a bit and take one of the strands of wire out and solder down one single strand of wire across the where the fuse would go, and that'll at least give you some current. And it won't give you much current because it'll fuse very, very easily. And that's the way you make yourself a basic little fuse when you don't have one. And it'll get you going. And still give you protection, because a fine wire like that is going to melt just like any fuse would. So down we go with this fine wire. I'm going to get my magnifiers on so I can see what I'm doing. I can just pop that out. Now I've got a complete circuit, and it's got protection in case something goes sideways. It will just pop without blowing anything else up. At least that's what I hope. So we'll just try reconnecting again. And hit the power button and see if I get any light or any smoke. Hey, I got welcome! Welcome, Betacam SP! Excellent! It works! Far out. Okay, time to put it back together. I'm happy. I'm happy as a camper right now. They capped from shorting out against anything if they were to short. Plug it back in. And then just pop the whole display back in where it belongs. Sits in there just like that, held in place by 3 screws. You gotta love these professional machines. They really were designed to be serviced. But then, you know, when this machine was new, it would have been I think $13,000 or $14,000. They were just ridiculously expensive. Because being beta, Sony did with these like they did with all their beta stuff. They kept it in house. They didn't give away the farm. That was one of the reasons why VHS machines became so cheap, is because JVC basically just gave anybody that wanted to make the machine a license and said, here you go, here are the plans, we're going to give you the plans, you can go and do what you want. And everybody made a gazillion machines, and nobody really made any money on those gazillion machines because, well, welcome to Betacam SP. There's the time code there. Excellent. Because, I mean, nobody made any money. Sony was smart in that respect. They kept everything in-house, and they made a killing selling these machines. And I think if you talk to any of the Sony executives, they probably made more money selling these machines than they would have ever made selling consumer machines. Even if Betamax had become the de facto standard, they would still have to sell them, you know, for what consumers were prepared to pay, which is considerably less than what professional users are ready to pay. So anytime you got pro gear, the pro gear is going to go for a lot more money than the consumer gear. That was kind of a dumb move. I just popped out some of my these have little windows on them. I got to pick the one up I dropped, put it back in there, and line it up with the buttons. Oops. These little button covers just pop in. But when you put it together, I'll turn it off when I do that. I got to make sure that the switches here all line up. Otherwise, I will just pop them off again. There we go. Buttons all line up now. Excellent. And yes, I know I didn't have to take the sides off. There are access holes in the side panel here to take the front panel off. I'm just pointing that out because the nitpickers out there whose entertainment is probably tearing the wings off flies would point that out and tell everyone how wrong I was. I saw that after I took the side covers off, that there was an access hole there to remove the front panel. I saw that before. I didn't know if that screw was for the front panel or not until I took the side off. And I figured it out pretty quick that you don't need to take the side panels off to remove the front cover. I'm going to do a recording on this unit, and I'm going to do it using RGB, or actually R minus Y and B minus Y and Y input, so a component signal. I'm going to play a video on my component player, and I'm going to record it using component inputs on this, and we'll see how the resulting video looks. It's going to hook up my audio cables so that I can record the sound from the source as well. Turn the machine on. I'm going to select my component input, and let's see, I got to set it up right here. Got to figure out which format I'm going to be in. Okay, I should, when I turn on the media player, get a picture. I'm just setting the unit up. I'm going to do a recording of my aquarium from my media player, and I'm just going to record on this tape. This tape is a tape that I can just record on. So probably should be careful with the music here. But I'm going to hit the record button here, and we're going to get this recording. There it goes. There we go. Okay, now I've got the video going. I'll show it. I've got it on my CRT monitor only because I don't want to get interference from the plasma. I want to see how this looks, so let's show you what I'm recording on the CRT monitor. It is my aquarium video, and this was shot in HD. It's being played back through my Sony media player using the component outputs going into the Betacam recorder. I'm just going to let this roll and just record this for a while, and then we'll see how it looks on playback. So as you can see, that tape is moving along at a pretty good clip there. So we'll pick this up once the tape's recorded. We can see how it recorded a nice colorful recording of my aquarium that was shot in HD. Transferred over component, so we should get the best possible picture quality off the component recording of the tape. The tape's getting near the end now. See how fast this thing rewinds. I should do it in about a minute for this length of tape, I think. I've got my feelers out looking for a couple tapes just so I have a few more tapes, because I only have like 3 Betacam tapes remaining from back in the day. There we go. Rewind. And we'll plug this into the plasma and take a look at how the picture quality looks on this tape recorded through the component inputs. You can record either direct component through S-Video or composite. So this time, say we did it through component. And I could actually, my 3-chip camera actually has a component output, so I could actually take my camera and record directly onto here to see what the picture quality would look like from the camera. I think that this recording, though, that I've recorded on here, it's all digital. It's always been in component mode, so this is probably every bit as good as just plugging a camera in directly into this recorder and checking it out. Anyway, let's look at it on the plasma and see how it works. Okay, tape's getting back to the beginning now. Here we go, play. That looks fantastic. Like off tape. That looks exactly like the original. The audio is low on this recording, so it's going to peak at like about -5. But here's the actual tape display. It shows hours, minutes, and seconds, although this tape is only a 30-minute tape, so it's not going to go beyond that. But you could put a 90-minute tape in here, right? There is a larger tape. I'd like to get one. I'd like to find a large tape just for playing around with it. So again, I got my eyes open for one. But there we go. I fixed the front panel display. 5 capacitors and a pop fuse was the trouble. So, all fixed up. Everything was happy now. I'm happy. I got a fully functional machine. It records, it plays. What more could I ask for? I figure I got a pretty good deal on this, considering what these machines cost when they were new. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.